Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're delighted you're with us in class today. And we broadcast 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 11 a.m. Central Time. There's a link to all of your instructors on the website, USAPrepares.com. I'm Vin Finelli. Kyle's engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us. Welcome, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Well, good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, Dr. Wallach. You know, I had a question for you. I was thinking about... well, I've got a whole bunch of questions, but I was thinking, as you travel throughout the world, I'm sure that you've seen your share of emergency situations. And of those emergency situations that you've seen, how many of them could have been prevented by just eating right, the right supplements, the right nutrition, paying attention to, you know, what's happening around that person? What's your reaction to that?
Well, all of these health emergency situations certainly can be prevented. As you point out, I see them in airports, and I see them in parking lots, and I see them in hotels all the time. And these are not things that just suddenly appear and happen without things happening before. And, of course, these are usually the result of or side effects of these pre-existing conditions that everybody's screaming about. And, of course, last night the government has failed us again, not too surprising. And they're really confused because they bought into the false idea that these pre-existing conditions which result in these emergencies are genetic or autoimmune. They don't realize they're all nutritional deficiencies, as you pointed out. And it's kind of like putting oil in your car before the engine burns up as opposed to putting oil in your car after the engine burns up. What we do now, based on the advice from medical doctors, is the equivalent of putting 6 quarts of dirt from Texas in your car instead of 6 quarts of oil. When you put 6 quarts of dirt from Texas in your car, you say, why would I do that? Well, it'll save you a lot of money. It's only 50 cents a quart for a quart of dirt as opposed to $1.50 or $2 for a quart of oil. Well, I mean, that doesn't sound right. Dirt, well, this is dirt from Texas. This is not any dirt. This is dirt from Texas. Is bound to have some oil in it. That's the same idea as saying, well, just eat well, you're going to get everything you need. Mm-hmm. Same principle. Okay, you cannot get everything you need because plants only require 3 nutrients, Vincent, from the soil. Vertebrates, including human beings, we require 60. So you're going to be somewhere around 57 short. And that's why we have these emergencies. People will have cardiomyopathy heart attacks where they just drop dead suddenly. And you see this in young athletes, and you see this in people who do hard physical work. It can happen anytime, during work, during a workout, during training, during a sporting event, or it could happen that night after the sporting event, a half hour, an hour, or 2 hours later. It's a deficiency of a single mineral. Then things like congestive heart failure are caused by a deficiency of a single vitamin. We've known that for 300 years. And the more carbohydrates you eat, the more this deficiency is aggravated. And, of course, the medical system is telling people for years, don't eat fat. You're going to get fat. Don't eat fat. Eat, have a high-carb diet. Don't eat fat. Well, that was 100% wrong because a high-carb diet is what makes you fat. A high-carb, high-sugar gives you fatty liver, gives you congestive heart failure, adds to the deficiencies that make you obese. And again, I see people who have strokes and all this stuff in airports. which are deficiencies of a single class of nutrients, the omega-3s. And so you have to take the 90. And, of course, I know you've been doing it for quite a while. I've been doing it this coming December. It'll be 75 years I've been taking the 90 cents nutrients twice a day. And I have never had any surgery. I've never been on a prescription drug. I haven't even had a cold in 75 years. And it's one of those things where you want a boring health history. When people say, well, what's your blood pressure? Well, mine's 90/60. What? Are you on medication? No. What's your pulse? Well, my pulse is 39/41. That's my resting pulse. What? Are you on medication? No. And that's because I'm normal. Very few people are normal. And, you know, everybody says, well, my blood pressure is 120/70. Well, that's good, but that's not perfect. What about your pulse? That's my blood pressure. Is, 120/70. Well, that's not normal, but it's okay. My pulse is 78. Well, that's too high. It should be below 50. And so their normal is actually, their base they look at is abnormal. And then, of course, when you go through the airports, there's not very good food. Everything's fried or has a lot of sugar in it or carbonated drinks and so forth. Or they're drinking Gatorade with 2 nutrients instead of Rebound with 100 nutrients. And so it's an education process. And every once in a while, if you're passing on the message to your friends and your church mates and your workmates and your neighbors, your relatives, you're going to feel like Noah, because a lot of people out there will say, well, I better ask my doctor. What? Well, the reason you're in trouble is you've gone to your doctor for 20 years. And most people will get 2 or 3 bids when they put a roof on a house or a sprinkler system in the yard. The doctor says, I need you to cut your foot off. Everybody says, okay. They never say, I'm going to get 2 other opinions here before I make up my decision what we're going to do here. They always just say, well, the doctor said. And we have to stop that. We have to take responsibility. We have to train our family how to do their own physicals. And this is where Youngevity comes in. This is where we come in. We teach people how to do their own physicals for $4.50 as opposed to $2,000 going to the doctor. And you'll do the same exact physical the doctor will do. Blood pressure, weight, pulse, how tall you are. You get test strips from the pharmacy without a prescription for $1.50 a piece. Get them in bottles of 5 or 10. And you can do your own blood work. You can do, your A1C hemoglobin, your blood sugar. You can do your own urine test. You get a multi-step where you do 6 different tests or 8 different tests on your urine. You can even do the equivalent, Vincent, of a colonoscopic exam. You don't need some madman with a mask on putting a garden hose up your rump to look around in there. You can do that yourself for $1.50. And so the doctor will charge your insurance company $2,000. You can do the same exact physical for $4.50. Also, if you do the physical, if you find you have high blood pressure or high blood sugar, it won't get on your record and they won't raise your insurance premiums. So it's financially advantageous to you as well as being safer to do it yourself. The number 3 cause of death in America, according to Johns Hopkins just a couple of weeks ago, is medical mistakes in hospitals. The number 3 cause of death in America. Medical doctors in hospitals each year, Vincent, kill 251,000 people from simple mistakes. That's from Johns Hopkins just a couple of weeks ago. What would happen if Iran were to send over an intercontinental ballistic missile with a terrible weapon and kill 251,000 Americans? We'd declare war on them. Well, here's one trade in America that does that every year in the workplace, and they get away with it. So we have to take over to save America, and that's what being a survivor is. Of course, my book, Prepare, it's the Prepper, the subtitle is the Prepper's Survival Bible. Goes into all the things you need to do. It reiterates all the things you've been speaking about for years and years and years. That's why we're compadres, because we believe in being prepared. We believe in doing everything ourselves. And you're going to live longer, live safer. And when you see an emergency in an airport or a restaurant, you know what to do. The Heimlich, when somebody's got a big chunk of meat stuck in their throat. I've done that probably 6 times over the last year. That's very common in restaurants. And so people need to know how to do the Heimlich. You get behind somebody, put your arms around them, and hold your wrist and jerk up on them so that you put pressure on the diaphragm. They pop that piece of steak out and you save their life. Then if somebody's bleeding, take your belt off, put a tourniquet around them, stop the bleeding. Somebody calls 911. these sorts of things. Somebody stops breathing, has a stroke. That's what CPR is for. Everybody needs to take a CPR course and be qualified in that. But these things do happen all the time.
They really do. As a matter of fact, Dr. Wallach, we had some visitors here at the farm, and one of them was driving in and was a passenger in a vehicle and had a seizure right in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, and then arrived at the farmhouse. Another one was here at the farmhouse helping cook dinner and had a seizure right then and there, fell on the floor, and I took charge and kept the person's mouth from closing and chewing his tongue anymore. Put a soft marking pen in there to keep him from choking, and we got through it. And so we talked with an MD after that, and the doctor said, "Wow, you did the right thing." And so really what we're talking about is having some knowledge and taking charge, and not just saying, "Uh-oh, what do we do?" And so knowledge is really, really important, and also prevention is really, really the key. So my next question, Dr. Wallach, is what causes these seizures? Two people. Now, I'm kind of glad that they both didn't have a seizure in the kitchen at the same time, because then I'd say, well, it sounds like we did something here, or something's going on at the farmhouse. But that was not the case. Do we have a feel for what causes seizures?
Oh, absolutely. Most seizures, especially when you're not born with epilepsy. When people have epilepsy, they're born with it. It's actually
not the case here.
Okay. And so, people who are sort of normal, they've never had a seizure before, and suddenly they have a seizure. This can be caused by low blood pressure. This can be caused by low blood sugar. It can also be caused by a fat deficiency. One of the biggest causes of seizures, unexplained seizures, is actually a fat deficiency. And people are on statin drugs to lower cholesterol, and they're avoiding cholesterol, and they're eating egg beaters instead of eggs. Eat 10 eggs a day. Stay away from fried foods. Eat the fat off the meat, throw the meat away, and you won't have seizure. Take your 90 essential nutrients, you're home free.
Well, I got to tell you, the first thing I did was get both of these people on the 90 essential. It's the first thing I did. No question about it. We'll be right back with Dr.
Doing that.
We'll be right back with Dr. Joel Wallach. Class, I'm going to give you a phone number if you'd like to call the Youngevity Protocol and Order Hotline, 417-863-7149. 417-863-7149. And I'll give that number out again during this broadcast hour. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us. Dr. Wallach, I've known about you since the 1990s, when I would listen to shortwave radio and pick up the broadcast and hear you dispensing vital medical information. And you and I, believe it or not, we have been broadcasting going on 6 years now, starting with the very first time that I got a call from a radio station in Springfield, Missouri, saying, "Hey, Vinny, can you come in right now? We need you to be on the air with Dr. Joel Wallach." And so, believe it or not, that's like 6 years ago, and I want to thank you. And here's the point, Dr. Wallach. When you and I are on the air, you say something that I'd like to comment on, and you say it every time, and you say these words. And I'm going to quote. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe these are the words. "Thank you for your hospitality." Are those the words you use?
That's correct.
Yeah, and here's what I want to say about
hospitality.
Yes, and use the words "thank you" rather than "thanks," THX. Some abbreviation. You actually say the complete words. And here's the point I'm trying to make. There are plenty of people that say thanks, but that's like a shortcut for an appreciation. I have never, and this is the point, I have never seen you take a shortcut of any kind. Never. You do it the right way every time.
Well, that is correct. And of course, as one travels around the world, regardless of what goes on in a particular country or city, people do appreciate being rewarded for their good works. And oftentimes this is missed people just expect it, but they don't reward people for giving it. And I do appreciate and like to reward people for doing good things, and we do appreciate your hospitality and sharing this information with your listeners. And we have an obligation to share this information because it's one of those things where I actually spent 5 years in the Army and 20 years in the Air Force, and your service to humanity and your service to your country doesn't end when you get out of active duty. You actually really begin working with one-on-one with your own community, and it makes a huge difference when you're able to communicate. And so communication of your true feelings is a big thing, and most people don't have it experienced. As you say, they use idioms and shortcuts and abbreviations and so forth, and people really don't see that as a complete communication. So I appreciate you recognize that has happened.
Well, it happened this morning. We had some guests at the farmhouse, and one of the guys, as he was leaving, is a doctor, and he spent several days with us, and he said, "Thank you for your hospitality." And I said, "Stop right there. you're the only only the second person I've ever heard use that sentence." And then I explained to him about Dr. Joel Wallach, who was going to be on the air with me, in a half an hour or so. And that was this morning. And I explained to him exactly what I said to you. There was no abbreviation. There was no THX, thanks. It was thank you for your hospitality. And I said, only the second time in my life have I heard that from someone. And Dr. Wallach was the first. And that's where that came from. That's why I wanted to share that with you. Dr. Wallach, Angelina Jolie was reported on the news as having Bell's palsy. And evidently it is something that she feels is related to high blood pressure. She feels that it somehow is related to early menopause. Somewhere around 40,000 Americans per year are diagnosed with Bell's palsy. Can you tell us what it is and can it be prevented?
Okay, well, Bell's palsy is a problem with the seventh cranial nerve, and usually it happens on one side. The medical doctors get it all wrong as usual, and they say, oh, it's caused by a virus infection of the seventh cranial nerve. That's not true. It's actually caused by osteoporosis of the skull, and there's 12 pairs of cranial nerves come out on each side, 12 on the right side, 12 on the left side, and people know about the fifth cranial nerve, the trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve is very painful in the face. The seventh cranial nerve, the facial nerve, when it gets squeezed, you get Bell's palsy. And I think we got to do one of these message things. We'll finish this up after these messages.
We do. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us. And let me give you that number, 417-863-7149. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us. And we're talking about Angelina Jolie and her Bell's palsy. And the article I read says that she suffered facial paralysis and hypertension and menopause. And so we were talking about what the cause is with Dr. Wallach. Please continue.
Okay, thank you, Vincent. Yeah, and then, of course, if the eighth cranial nerve gets squeezed, you get tinnitus or ringing in the ears. You can get dizzy, feel like motion sickness, a little bit of nausea. This used to be called Meniere's disease. They actually renamed it after me, Wallach's vertigo, because they figured out the cause. And then the same thing happens when you have Bell's palsy. You get a squeezing of the seventh cranial nerve, the facial nerve, and it's almost always one side. If it was a virus, it'd be both sides, and so the fact that it happens on one side, it tells you there's another issue. And the issue is always osteoporosis of the skull. Doctors and dentists rarely tell their patients, you can get osteoporosis of the face and the skull and the jaw. You don't only get osteoporosis of your legs and your vertebrae and your ribs. You get them in your face and your skull, too. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes there'll be receding gums and loose teeth, and you wind up with getting dentures and bridges and plates and all that kind of stuff. You can also have your neck will start grinding, start shrinking, and these are all things having to do with nutritional deficiencies. And it could be something as simple as vitamin D3. If she's inside all the time and not getting enough vitamin D3 to utilize her mineral, no matter how much you supplement your minerals, if you're not taking in enough vitamin D3, you can't absorb them efficiently, you can't deposit them in your bones efficiently. So you have to take all 90 all the time. And this is a big mistake people make, particularly doctors. They say, oh, you need some vitamin C. What about the other 89? If you're deficient in one, the odds are you're deficient in many. And so I always take all 90. I've been taking, like I say, 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids, twice a day for, in December here, it'll be 75 years. And of course, I've never had ringing in the ears or Bell's palsy or trigeminal neuralgia or any of those things because I'm giving my body everything it needs to maintain itself. Now, this is a proactive thing. Now, when it comes to menopause, this is usually a cholesterol deficiency, and it could be sort of a natural thing. Women go through menopause in their 60s and 70s, and but the reduction in hormone levels, whether it's estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, adrenal hormones, you're looking at a cholesterol deficiency. Cholesterol makes up 95% of the weight of estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. And so, guys, if you want to avoid male pause, okay, where you're getting the sort of the male equivalent of menopause, and you're starting to look at Viagra and Cialis and those kind of things, guess what? Eat 6, 8, 10 eggs a day, split them up, have half your eggs at breakfast, have at dinner time, soft scramble in butter, soft boil, soft yolks, poach the soft yolks. If you're a lady, you want to do the same thing, you want to eat those eggs. And people say, well, my doctor said my cholesterol is too high. Well, guess what? Your doctor is either lying to you or they're ignorant, one or the other, and either way they're very dangerous because when you restrict cholesterol and you take statin drugs to lower cholesterol, guess what? You wind up with Alzheimer's disease, which goes along with the age group of menopause and so forth. So that's dangerous. And let's see, what else was her problem? She had menopause, she had Bell's palsy, and what was the third one?
Those were, well, she blames it on the breakup with Brad Pitt, but those were the main ones. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and you mentioned dizziness.
I thought she had blood pressure problems too. And of course, that's...
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, high blood pressure. Yeah,
she could have mineral deficiencies, could cause high blood pressure. But also, one of the more common reasons for blood pressure problems is plaque in the arteries. And, of course, that comes from inflammation, eating fried foods and processed meats with nitrates and nitrites, eating oil. That was one of the biggest things that caused plaque in the arteries is consuming olive oil, coconut oil, margarines, mayonnaise, adulterated and cooking oils. People say, well, wait a minute, my doctor said that's healthier than eating saturated fat. No, you just don't want to fry in saturated fat. But cholesterol and saturated fat are essential nutrients. They make up the cell walls in your body, every cell in your body. They make up the main part of the hormones in your body. They also make up 75% of your brain weight. The white matter of the brain is cholesterol and saturated fat. And so when you go on a cholesterol-restricted diet and you take a statin drug to lower your blood cholesterol, very quickly you're going to wind up with Alzheimer's disease. And so the signal is that all the doctors are running around buying up all the nursing homes people go to when they have Alzheimer's disease, because Alzheimer's disease, Vincent, is a physician-caused disease. And so if you could actually email this program to Angelina Jolie, and we can help her. She'd be a great testimony to come on your program and say, hey, we followed Doc Wallach's program for menopause and for Bell's palsy and high blood pressure, and it all went away. And we want to tell the world. So, hey, I'd email her this program.
I will do my best to make that happen. I will. Now, you mentioned dizziness. As people get older, sometimes they complain about being dizzy. What are some of the causes of dizziness in the 60-year-old plus?
It could be a high blood pressure. It could be low blood pressure. It could be low blood sugar. It could be a side effect of some medication they're taking. But it also can be caused by, again, squeezing of the eighth cranial nerve. The vestibular branch, there's two main branches of the eighth cranial nerve, the vestibular branch, which deals with balance, and then also it could be a squeezing, again, of the auditory branch of the eighth cranial nerve. And then it could be, again, low blood pressure, high blood pressure, low blood sugar. Those things can all cause dizziness. And it could be obstruction. It could be a plaque in the arteries in the brain. That can cause the problem, too. Not enough blood getting into the brain. And so I like to just kind of visit all of those issues when somebody complains about dizziness. And we give them what we call the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, which gives them the nutrients necessary to make the brain happy. Have them eat 8 to 10 eggs a day, soft poached, soft scrambled. Throw in the glucogel, which is the raw material for your body to be able to support and promote maintenance repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, bone matrix, bone itself, including the skull. And all of it, remember, there's 12 pairs of cranial nerves, 12 on the right side, 12 on the left side. And if any of them get squeezed, you get a problem. One of them, you hear people, they get hiccups. They just can't get rid of the hiccups. They go to doctors, and they just shrug. They don't know what to do. And so it's actually a squeezing of the recurrent branch of the 10th cranial nerve. And, again, caused by osteoporosis of the skull. People, as they get older, they get kind of a gravelly voice. They start talking kind of, and so forth. Kind of a gruff, gravelly voice, and hard to understand them. That's because the 9th cranial nerve is being squeezed, which is a glossopharyngeal nerve and controls the vocal cord. And so there's reasons for these things. It's not aging per se, but it's the common complications of aging, which include osteoporosis. And so most of these things, and of course all this is written up in the book Let's Play Doctor. It's written up in the book Epigenetics. It's written up in the book Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And once you begin to use these tools to read these things, and you have a family meeting once a week for an hour, and read a chapter, read a couple of pages, and share all this with people, the need to go to a doctor starts going away, because you start taking your 90 cents of nutrients to prevent all these issues. Or if you wind up with these issues, you start dealing with them by adding some special sauces, we call it, to your basic program. Basic program, Vincent, for people who do not have a problem, we'd like to call the Healthy Start Pack. And it has 248 nutrients in it, including all known 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. And these pre-existing conditions are 99% deficiencies of these nutrients, these essential nutrients. And so they're all arguing over meaningless things, because when people have these issues for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, they're being treated with drugs. The drugs only treat the symptoms. With the exception of antibiotics, Vincent, which can cure bacterial disease like pneumonia, syphilis, that sort of thing. All other prescription drugs, and I'll repeat that, all other prescription drugs only treat the symptoms. There's no other prescription drugs other than antibiotics to cure the disease. They're all designed purposely to treat the symptoms, so the pharmaceutical company, the doctor, can keep you on the string forever and ever.
That is such a valid point that you made, and I hope our class heard it very, very clearly. Let me give you that number, 417-863-7149. So if you'd like the books, if you'd like to have that family get-together, and I suggest you do that, 417-863-7149. Class, our family eats together. We're a 1950s, 1960s type family. We sit down, we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. It's really neat. It's wonderful. We talk about what we're going to do during the day. We talk about what we are doing during the day. We talk about what we've done during the day. We talk about prevention. We do. And that's what preparedness is about. Preparedness is having what you need before you need it. It really is. 417-863-7149. Dr. Wallach, I got a call over the weekend, and one of our instructors was telling me about a family member who was just diagnosed with breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer, and stage 3. It's aggressive, and they're wondering what should they do. What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, well, let's start out at the beginning. All cancers are self-inflicted diseases. They're not genetic. They can be familial, because families pass on their bad habits, their eating habits and so forth, and their cooking habits, and doing these things incorrectly are the causes of cancer. Cancer is not a genetic thing. There can be outside chemicals involved, but that's rare. You know, the love canal thing happened in one area 50 years ago. That doesn't happen much all over the place. These are rare things. But everybody eats fried food. Everybody eats processed meat. Many people smoke.
Yeah.
These are the causes of cancer, and we can talk about what to do about it. after these messages.
There you go. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us, and we'll be back. We're talking about breast cancer, triple negative, aggressive stage 3 breast cancer, and what to do about it. I'm Vince Finelli. This is USA Prepares. Class, let me give you that phone number one more time if you'd like to follow the Youngevity protocol that we've been talking about. 417-863-7149. 417-863-7149. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us, and we're talking about breast cancer, triple negative, and Dr. Wallach has an answer. Dr. Wallach, what do we do?
Okay, thank you, Vincent. Yes, well, first of all, you can prevent breast cancer many, many ways. This started in 1912. They knew by supplementing with just the trace mineral selenium, you could reduce the risk of breast cancer by 82%, colorectal cancer by 95%, prostate cancer by 69%. Repeated again in 1996 by the University of Arizona. They got the same exact results. And then Harvard Medical School did a study called the Nurses' Health Study, Harvard Nurses' Health Study. 90,000 nurses, Vincent, over a 20-year period. They found that the nurses who cooked their meat, like roast and steaks and chops and ribs and things, hamburgers, if they cooked their meat very well done, where the fat was seriously browned, it actually increased the risk of breast cancer by 462%. 462%. So, ladies, cook your meat medium rare. You reduce your risk of breast cancer by 462%. Supplement with all 90 essential nutrients. Take more selenium. And this is one of my 10 lawsuits against the FDA and federal court in which I prevailed. I can legally say, I can scream it out loud on the radio, that by supplementing with selenium, you'll significantly reduce the risk of many different types of cancer, including breast cancer. Well, what do you do when you have it? Well, once you have it, you want to support the immune system, which is your body's best friend. And so I like people to use a heavy hammer. When you have a serious, life-threatening, you're in a very dangerous situation with triple negative breast cancer, stage 3, you have a very life-threatening situation. So you can't play around. You got to get rid of all the inflammatory things. No fried food, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat bread around oats, no carbonated drinks. And then you throw in the 90 essential nutrients, 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential 3 fatty acids to support the immune system. And I like our heavy hammer for Youngevity, the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. It covers a lot of territory. The Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, 1 per 100 pounds of body weight. And then specifically to support the immune system when you have really the need for an immune system to protect from many things, including cancer, I would use what we call a Z radical, Z like zebra dash radical. It's a blend of 3 super juices and a substance called fucoidin, which is an extract from red marine algae, which we get from Tasmania off the shores of Australia. The Japanese attribute 850 university studies on fucoidin, which is extracted from red marine algae. They attribute the fact that they have 90% less breast cancer than we do here in America to this fucoidin as a preventative. And when they get breast cancer, they actually ramp up on the fucoidin, take more as a supplement, and they attribute their success with greater numbers or survival by supplementing with fucoidin. So I like the Z radical. Again, comes in quarts, and I like somebody who's even, let's say they're 70 years old and they weigh 105 pounds. I'd take 2 ounces a day, one at breakfast, one at dinner time. And I also want to get the ORAC points, ORAC, an acronym for oxygen radical absorption capacity. These are antioxidant points which support your immune system. I'd get them up over 300,000 a day, which requires many different ways to do it. I like what we call our BTT 2.0 tablets or Beyond Tangerine 2.0 tablets. It's designed for ORAC points. It's not a vitamin mineral supplement. It's an ORAC point supplement. And I personally take 4 of those twice a day. That gives me 320,000 ORAC points a day. And with all of the other supplements I take in 500,000 ORAC points a day just for prevention. I want to prevent cancer. I avoid all the bad stuff. I don't eat fried foods. I don't eat burnt meats. I don't cook my meat well done. I don't smoke. I don't do any of that stuff. And I take my 90, but I also take 500,000 ORAC points a day to support my immune system, to fend off anything bad, including cancer. And that's the direction I would go for this lady with triple negative breast cancer. And she has a great possibility of living longer, having a high quality of life, maybe even surviving.
Thank you for providing that advice and counsel, Dr. Wallach, and I'm going to make sure that she gets a copy of this broadcast. I know the family very, very well.
Stay away from mammograms, too.
Stay away from mammograms, okay.
Yeah, and one mammogram has the same radiation as 500 test pictures.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And for those of you who have been on hold, thank you, Dr. Wallach. See you next Friday. My apologies to those on hold. I'm sorry we did.
Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Hour number 2 of USA Prepare Us. You know, today, this hour, we're going to be talking about, well, starting your own business. Make your passion your business. Make your hobby your business. Extreme tax deductions. Business secrets. And class, all of these statements that I make are based on life experiences, what others have experienced firsthand. What we're going to discuss contains my opinions. Proceed at your own risk. Don't believe anything I say. Do your own research. Consider this entertainment. And don't do any of this if you're not willing to defend yourself. Marty Barrett's with us. Marty Barrett. Welcome, Marty.
Thanks. I got lots more questions. You've talked me into getting my own business now. I'm ready,
excited.
But I have lots more questions.
I'm so glad you've made that decision. I really am, because you're going to start realizing that you're going to be able to keep some of the money that you've mailed off to be wasted by the government. And so you're going to get to keep a larger percentage of what you've worked so hard for and what your husband has worked so hard for. And that's what this is all about. Class, business secrets. And you can take the same tax deductions that Donald Trump takes, the same ones that I take, the same ones that other entrepreneurs take. And so Marty's with us. So Marty, what are your thoughts?
Is there a good time? Is there some time is better than another time to start your own business?
In my opinion, yes. You know, let me explain this. I have been laid off, and, you know, I worked at the bank and they had a bank closure. The boss called me and said, "Hey, Vinny, let's go to lunch." And I go to lunch, and he says, "I just want to let you know I'm being laid off." I said, "Oh, that's terrible. Jeez, that's awful. How awful. Oh, boy, this is terrible." And he said, "And so are you." As a matter of fact,
terrible, huh?
as a matter of fact, we're all getting laid off. As a matter of fact, they're closing this operation down. We're all getting thrown out. And he said, "You and I are going to be, a couple of the last guys to turn off the lights." And there's going to be a lot of crying. And then I realized that at that point, I became a second-class citizen. And everybody else drives off to work, and my car would still be in the driveway. And they'd say, "What happened to him? You know, I guess he's not. Oh boy, he's lost his job. Wonder what he did." You know, so the time to start your business is when you already or still have a job, when you still have those network connections. Okay, when you can still get your clients. Start scheduling your clients and start making. Yes. And it's more difficult to make that happen when you don't have your job, when you don't have that income stream. So right now, while you have an income stream, you can afford to spend a little bit of money on your business. But if that income stream were to stop, you'd say, I can't do that. I've got to pay this bill, that bill, the electric bill, the taxes, the insurance, and you might not be financially able to start your business. So the time is when you still have your job.
So even if you're planning on retiring, you think you should start before you retire?
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, in your case, what we're looking at is you want to be a tutor. You want to help people who are students, who are in school, having a little bit of difficulty. They need some guidance. They need a little more understanding as to why things that you teach happen the way you teach them, so they understand better, so they can be prepared to go on to the next set of material that they're going to learn and the next progression and ultimately get that position that they want. And in your case, you're teaching people how to be nurses, right? A lot of them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm protecting all of us.
Yes, and so you need to make sure they know the material cold. They know it very well. So not just to pass the test, but actually they have to know it. So your business is going to be giving them that extra guidance and training and education that they need. And you're going to do that from your home-based business. And so you are actually preparing for your own retirement. You're building in your own security, right?
Mm-hmm. So how long before I retire should I start this business?
When did we do the first broadcast? This is our 7th one.
Mm-hmm.
During the first 15 minutes of broadcast number 1. That's when you should start.
Come on. I don't remember.
Right now.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
Okay.
And you already said you've made that decision to start your own business. So now Marty, you are in business. Okay? You are in business. And what did it take? It took you saying, I'm in business. That's what it took. You are now in business, and you can enjoy those tax deductions we've been talking about. And class, if you want to rewind and go and listen to some of these broadcasts, you can listen to them on GCN, Genesis Communications Network, the archives. You can go to USA Prepares, and you can find information about these broadcasts. You can go to Republic Broadcasting, listen to the archives there, or you can go to YouTube, and you can type in USA Prepares, Extreme Tax Deductions, and you'll find the Ron Gibson channel, and all 7 of these 1-hour broadcasts, part 1 through 7, will be there, and parts 1 through 6 are already there right now. So you started your business, and I'm all excited because you really are. It's going to change your thought process as you buy things, as you spend your hard-earned money. You're going to be more deliberate, more careful, and you're going to be thinking about, is this something our business needs? And if it is, you'll be buying it, and if you can afford it. And if it's not, you won't.
Okay, well, are there any risks to this, starting my own business?
Very, very few. Now, let's qualify what I'm saying. You've been an instructor at the college level for 20-plus years, is that correct?
Yes.
This is your passion, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the time that you spend teaching people, would you ever regret having done that?
No.
Okay. So even if you were to do it for free, you wouldn't regret it, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So that would be one risk, the risk of wasting your time. So that's eliminated. Another risk might be, well, you're going to buy some things that you might not have to outfit your home office. Now, if you buy things that you never would have bought without your business, and you decide to not have your business continue, that would be a risk. But I don't think you're going to do that. You're going to be very judicious in how you spend your money, very careful. You're not going to waste money. And so I don't think there are any other risks besides, well, there's one. And I don't think it's a big risk. There's a possibility that you might get audited by either the state or the federal government's IRS corporation. So if you get audited, you might find that a little bit unpleasant at first, but by the end of the audit, you'll think it's pretty neat because you will have won. And you'll say, wow, they say these audits are really terrible. It wasn't any big deal. I was prepared for it, and I survived the audit. And not only that, we got more money back. So I don't see any risks at all from you starting your business at your home in the professional tutoring area. I don't see any at all, unless you were concerned about the audit. But that'll go away.
But you'll go with me to an audit, right?
I would love it. I would like. Now we'd have to take some lawn chairs.
I'd be there a while. I think I'd really enjoy it.
Oh, we should. I'll tell you what. If that happens, let me know. Call me, and we'll bring friends and family, and we'll video it. Okay.
Pack a lunch.
And we'll yes, and it will be another tax deduction. It will be one for me, It'll be a tax deduction for me because I will announce that we're going to an audit and we're going to use it as classroom material. So the trip out, wow, all the way to the East Coast. Let's see, that's about 1,100 miles each way at 54. That's about $1,000 deduction for me. Actually, over 1,000.
Wow.
Well, that's without meals. So you include meals. We might take a few days. We're up to maybe $1,500 worth of deductions for me just to come, to be part of this audit. And I can justify that because it's classroom material. And you, it would be a deduction for you because it's an educational experience. And you would come back on the air with me and we'd be talking about it.
Great.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. So I just want to let the IRS know and the state know that if they want to audit you, I'll be there, and we'll make sure that everybody gets full credit for everything they've done. We'll take pictures. We'll have a photo album. We'll put it on the internet. It'll be wonderful. Yeah.
It actually sounds like fun.
It will be. It really will be. I've been to court a number of times. I was a landlord at one time, another business that has lots of tax deductions, and I've ended up in court, and we always win. We always win. So it's a lot of fun, and so these things that you might find initially that you hear about that are horrible, that's because people are not prepared. But if they are prepared, it's no big deal. It really isn't. It's kind of like...
How do you prepare?
I'll tell you that in a second. But do you ever go to class unprepared, having no idea what you're going to do? I can't imagine that.
No.
Okay. Well, same thing is with the audit. And you prepare for it. And when? Okay. Was your question, how do I prepare?
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about this previously, but I'll spend some time. When we come back from this break, I'll tell you how I prepare, how Vin Finelli and family prepares for a tax audit. One of those things that most people are terrified of. I'm telling you, it's no big deal. It's actually fun. And you can approach it with a big smile on your face. Why? Because you're ready. You're ready. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes after these few short commercial announcements. Class, Marty Barrett's with us, and we're talking about extreme tax deductions and starting your own business. Truck driver Jay is in Kansas today, and he's got a tax-related question. Jay, you're on with Marty Barrett.
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon. Good morning, Vincent. I really wanted to talk to Dr. Wallach, but anyways, now my wife rides along with me, and I thought it would be a really good idea if she would have a business as my assistant. Now, I'm wondering what kind of tax deductions could she take as my assistant, that would be her business.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to weave that into the discussion. So I'm going to put you on hold while I answer. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of material to cover. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold. Okay, so truck driver Jay travels all over the country, and he's called in a number of times. He wants his wife to start a business. Well, so she can start a journal of where she's been in the truck, how truck drivers, how the business works, and she can do a blog, if you will. And she can take pictures, and she can buy the camera and have the website and so forth. And what's the purpose of this? Well, maybe she wants to start a forum, a truck drivers forum, and actually have advertisers. And the purpose of the business would be to generate advertising revenue. So she'd have to have some really good content to get truck drivers interested in contributing to the forum about things they've found and so forth. That would be, my initial thoughts. I'm sure there's plenty of others that truck drivers could contribute to help us understand what would be a really neat way of running this business. But those are my initial thoughts. Marty, you had asked me about preparing for the audit. That may happen. And, it really could happen. Here are my thoughts. So first, you need to know the rules. And to do that, you need to download Publication 17. Pub 17 from irs.gov. You download that and you read that and you learn about the business deductions that you can take and the business use of your home. So once you learn that, you're going to play by their rules, and you are going to write down on all the receipts that are germane to your business why you bought what you bought, how it applies to the business, and in very, very few words. You're not going to write a dissertation. You're just going to write what the item is on the receipt and why you bought it, just for your own notes. And I would write that lightly in pencil. And then you'd keep a log of your travel, why you went where you went, okay? And I heard the dog barking in the background. Well, that's a business deduction. That is your security system. And you will be deducting your dog's dog food, your dog's collar, costs that are associated with having your security system, which happens to be a biological security system. And so you've got your business use of the automobile at 54 cents per mile. You write down the beginning odometer reading for that trip you're making to for your business. The end odometer reading, you make that subtraction, and you write down how many miles. And then you use that that goes into your tax preparation. And when you get audited, you say, oh, it's right here. Yeah, my records are right here. 54 cents a mile. By what you've done. Well, I don't. They don't get the detail. They only get the summary sheets. Okay, they have forms that the IRS will provide you with forms, but the detail you don't give them. Only at audit time, and only item by item as they ask. You don't give them anything that they don't ask for.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is you are prepared. And when have you done the preparation? Well, you've done the preparation actually before you buy the items, before you make those business trips, those business visits to the vet and so forth. You know the rules, then you write down where you've gone and why for your own information, and you have those records ready. So you've already prepared for the audit while and before you are making those visits and purchases.
Now, let's say I forget to write it down, like I forget the odometer reading.
Write it down later.
Could I just say it's 9 miles to that place? Times 54
I've
cents,
done that.
as long as I document that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the date.
Got it.
Yep, we'll be right back. Marty Barrett's with us. We're talking about extreme tax deductions. And do they work? Yeah, they do. Does the internet say you can do it? No, it says you can't do it. I'm telling you, the internet's wrong. We'll be right back. Marty Barrett's with us. And we're talking about extreme tax deductions. In class, I want to make sure that this is clear. These are legitimate tax deductions and business expenses. This is not a scam. And we're not entertaining tax evasion, which is illegal. We're not entertaining that at all. We're discussing tax avoidance, which is perfectly above board and legitimate. It is legitimate. Tax avoidance. You don't have to pay taxes. You can avoid taxes. Okay? And that's what we're talking about. That's what the wealthy do. So we're talking about starting your own business, and that's what this 7-part series is about so far. Starting your own business and taking the same tax deductions the wealthy take. And it's all in print. You can download Publication 17 and learn this for yourself. So, Marty, do you have additional questions?
Yes. Previously you said if I had a room dedicated to tutoring, I could deduct, if that was one of 7 rooms, I could deduct a 7th of my electricity or roof repairs or things like that. What if I would do my tutoring at the kitchen table, which is not used exclusively for it, but what if I did it by time? What if I say that my kitchen table is 2 hours out of every 24, I'm using that room for tutoring? Could I do some calculations like that?
The IRS is pretty clear. They say that you've got to have exclusive use of that part of your home for the business, okay? And they'd probably give you a hard time about doing that. However, there are times when I can understand where you might want to do that. For example, let's say you have a configuration in that 3rd bedroom on the right, which is now your your training center, your educational center, your office, your tutoring center. That's you've dedicated 1/7 of, and we're assuming that at home, and for these purposes on the classroom, one typical home might be 7 rooms, and we'll just take one of those rooms and make it the business office. So we'll take 1/7 of the expenses. There might be times when that room might be suitable for 1 or 2 of your students, but now we might have 4. It's cram time, and you say, "I'll tell you what, we'll do 4, but we're not going to be able to do it in the office or the classroom here. So we'll have to do it at the kitchen table because we can all fit there." Yeah, I think you can do that. However, the IRS would probably give you a hard time. Now, from a practical standpoint, you might have to do that. There might be no other choice. And if I were involved in that situation, I might write some notes to myself for my purposes that this is what I've done, and that's why I've done the calculation to include 2/24ths of that particular day, of which there are 365 in a year. I might do that, but they might give me a hard time. But, was it a practical thing to do? Yeah. Were you trying to skirt around the rules? No. But it was something that, you might have to do.
Now, do they ever come to your house?
Well, we have been visited. When we lived in Virginia, we were visited by the state sales tax people. And they wanted to check out our business. And that's because we had a shop building where we manufactured computers. And so they showed up. And we let them. And the guy stayed for about 3 days.
You have to let them in?
Well, I don't think I would. Not anymore. Not knowing what I know now, I would say, no, you're not coming in.
You were young and naive.
Yeah. It's kind of like the police. They jam their foot in the door, and they say, mind if we come in, while they're, pushing the door open. now they're already in, okay? You got to make sure that you don't answer the door. So in this case, I would say, well, you're going to have to show me where I have to let you in. You have to show me the law, because I'm not letting you in until I see it, or unless you have a search warrant. But typically, they're not coming to your house. They're not going to come to your house. Now, the sales tax people are different. We're talking about an IRS audit or state audit. But sales tax people, they're pretty pushy. But you're not involved in any sales tax. You're not selling in your particular business. There is no sales tax involved, because you're not selling anything to your clients who happen to be students. You are selling them training, and there is no tax, sales tax on training. So they have no right to come in. And I would not let them in. If the question is, will you be audited, and will they say, okay, I want to see the room? The answer is, I have never seen that happen. I've never seen that happen. But that's not going to be a problem, because you will have a legitimate office that is dedicated for that specific purpose. Okay? And if they want to see it, you might be willing to show them a photograph. You show up in person and say, I'll show you can't have it, but I'll show you. You might want to do that. I would avoid giving them any information that is not absolutely required by tax code.
Now, what about the summers? I probably wouldn't have much tutoring in the summer, as school would be in session. Do I have to say that I can't take those deductions over the summer?
Why not? Why would you not want to continue your business? You see, as far as I could tell, you have a business that runs 12 months per year. Number one, all businesses are trying to find new customers / new clients, right? And they're trying to find new business. Well, during that period, you're going to be using your office. You're going to be making phone calls. You're going to be contacting, the professors. You're going to be marketing. You're going to be reading the internet. You're going to be using your office, right? You may not have a lot of clients at that time, but that doesn't mean you're shutting down. You're still going to be researching. You're still going to be preparing. You're going to be preparing your lessons. You're going to be evaluating new ways of teaching, right? You're going to be looking at, well, maybe you didn't get all the equipment that you needed before then. So you may be traveling to, the electronics emporium to see what other new gadgets might be available to you. So you'll still have those business trips. You'll still have the business deductions and so forth. So your business
You're
is...
saying I'm kind of like a ski shop in the summer.
That's exactly right. You're still in business. You don't shut the doors down. You're still there. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Cool. Now,
So do you... Go ahead.
What things do you think that I would buy for my office would be acceptable?
Anything that you deem necessary. You're the captain of the ship. Mm-hmm. As you look at, well, what do you have in your classroom right now? I'm talking about at the university level. So you're teaching in a large classroom. You have tools. Obviously, somebody at the administrative level thought that you needed to have a classroom. Light, heat, those kinds of things, cooling, projector, screens. They provided you with some of the tools. And then you provided some of the information and the delivery style. That's you've done that. Well, the tools that you would need to teach in your home-based classroom, you determine them. So if you decide that you want a specific shape of a desk, and let's see if it's an unusual shape, but you like that. You like it to be shaped like a D, because you want your students in a semicircle. And let's say your room accommodates that. And you find a cabinet maker that's willing to build one for a price that you're willing to pay. Now, is that unusual? Sure. But who's in charge? You're in charge. If you want a D-shaped training area surface desk instead of a rectangular one, you're in charge. It's up to you. Now, could it be a mistake? I guess. And, you may say, I think the rectangular desk was really the best way to go. Well, it's still a deduction. Both of them. The second desk and the first desk. They're still deduction. So you're allowed to make mistakes. Now, the auditor may say, Marty, that's kind of silly. But there's 17 desks here. You can say, but I'm a slow learner.
Is there a point at which they say, is there a cap that they would say as far as money spent?
Well, I don't know if there's a specific cap. However, there was this one guy who was entertaining his, we'll call them clients. And he spent a lot of money, like millions on his house. It was, above and beyond. And it didn't work for him. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about tax cheating. We're not talking about anything that is not legitimate. So I can't imagine, Marty, you doing anything that would be frivolous or out of bounds. I can't imagine you doing that, knowing you for all the years, decades that I've known you. So I can't see you hitting any kind of a cap, because it wouldn't apply to you, because you wouldn't be doing it.
That's probably true. I just wondered if there was a point at which, like a number at which they suspect anything beyond that.
Okay, well, let's say you went to you drove from the East Coast to California in search of a better way of teaching. Okay, well, the first trip might be approved, but the 14th one, they might say, hey, no, we're not gonna allow that deduction because it's ridiculous. 14 trips to California, are you really that slow of a learner? I mean, you could say, yeah, I am, but they'd probably say no, we're not buying it. So if it's reasonable, I'm sure it is would fly. Just like I would, even though the internet says you can't deduct your dog. Well, you can't deduct your dog, but you can deduct your security system. And if your security system happens to be your dog, I don't see why you can't deduct it. And I said yesterday on the air, I deduct my dog because he is my security system. And I challenge the IRS to prove to me why it's not my security system. I challenge them. I mean, heck, the president has the Secret Service. Why shouldn't I have some kind of serious security system? Why not? I mean, he puts his pants on the same way I do. So I would challenge that. Marty Barrett and I will be right back. We're talking about extreme tax deductions. She started her own business, and she's going to enjoy the tax deductions. We'll be right back. So, Marty, you were asking me about limits, and I was thinking during the commercial break, Are there any limits? Well, here's what I did. I'm saying this publicly on the air in front of the IRS and everybody else. So I bought 7 computers for my studio here at the farmhouse. 7 computers. Am I using 7 computers? No. No, I'm using 4 of this particular type that I bought 7 of. Why did I buy 7? Well, because they were $350 for all 7 of them with shipping. That's 7 computers, 7 keyboards, 7 mice, and 7 monitors. They're all Dell and they're all used. So that's $50 a piece. So I'm using 4 of them. Would the IRS say, hey, you can't do that, you're only using 4? I tell them take a hike because I bought 7 of them so I'd have some spares. Well, have I used the spares since I bought them? Yeah, 2 of the computers failed. So I only have 1 spare left. Yeah. Well, I bought them for $50. What a great deal, right? Yeah. So are there limits? Well, maybe I pushed the limits. I don't know. But I'm happy with that. And by the way, they missed the window in auditing me for that. It's already passed. So I don't see any limits because it was reasonable. I could have said, you know what, you're right. I should have spent $700 on each computer. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I didn't. I spent
maybe next time
$350.
You will, huh?
Well, probably not. Yeah.
You know, I was thinking that it seems like the best time to start your business is to think about anyway is when you're a kid. Is there any game or any preparation or anything that you could think of with kids that could get them to think about starting their own business and how to go about it?
Absolutely. And I'm willing to bet that you and I have played the same game separately, and we didn't even know each other back then. And most children our age have played Monopoly. And, you know, you play Monopoly, but you don't know the rules. And pretty soon you play 3, 4, 5 times, you go, I think I got it. I got to buy everything. It's unwritten. You have to buy everything in sight. So when you land on a property, you have to buy that property. And pretty soon you learn the rules. Well, it's the same thing with what we're talking about here. Those who don't know the rules are going to pay way more in tax than those who do know the rules. And during broadcast number 1 of this series, I asked you the question, of the people you know, and there are many people that you know that I don't even know, who is better off, those who have their own businesses or those who have jobs? And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said that people who have their own businesses are better off, right?
Seems it to me.
Yeah, and that's because a lot of them have read the rule book, publication 17, and the associated extra publications that go with that about how you can take these deductions. So while you are paying for your car out of after-tax income, they're paying for their car with before-tax income. So their car is a business deduction. And until this broadcast, when you decided to start your business, your car was paid for from your salary, right? After all the taxes were taken out. So they're already at an advantage. So right now, as of this broadcast, you have the same advantage they have. You're going to be taking the same deductions that they take. And so Monopoly was a great game to teach us that we need to know the rules.
Did you smoke everybody in the neighborhood?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you smoke everybody in the neighborhood when you played Monopoly with them?
Well,
I bet you eventually, were the neighborhood champ.
Well, eventually I learned that you had to buy every property. And when you do, you win the game. The guy who buys the most properties wins the game. That's how it works. And I learned that, you could be a real estate investor and do the same thing. You could buy properties and have your tenants pay for those properties. Let's say the mortgage is $1,000 a month. Okay, and you add the taxes and the insurance, and now you're up to $1,200 a month. And if you rent it for $1,200 a month and nothing goes wrong, you break even, but you're appreciating at the rate of the value of the property. And let's say the property is, a couple $100,000. Now your nest egg is growing, starting with a couple $100,000 that your tenants are paying for. And that's why people invest in run-down apartment buildings and run-down houses, and they put tenants in them because they're making money doing it. And who's paying for it? The tenants. Marty, I'm so delighted that you've decided to start your business. And I'd love to hear from you how well it works. Once you've gotten a couple months under your belt. Thanks for being with us, Marty Barrett.